Hey, this isn't going to be a long one, I'm afraid. So, went to tackle the fash. So, background. There's been a group of fascists called Peterhead United to be doing their northeast tour. So they were in Banff the other week. Not the other week. What, 3 weeks ago, 4 weeks ago. One of my earlier videos, you'll see I was there. And this time they were in Elgin. So, I mean, I'd met a lot of good people. I had a full car of people that I took from Banff. Some good friends and some new friends, and we got there for about 1:30. Ended up leaving about 5, 5:30. The There were loads of police. The barriers set up in two separate zones, and yeah, no, it was like we outnumbered the good people outnumbered the bad by a good margin, probably 7 or 8 to 1, which was amazing. So we definitely outnumbered them. We outshouted them, and possibly changed some minds. But very, very mentally draining. It's really hard. Like, I'm glad I was there. I wouldn't have, you know, there was no way I was gonna not be there, barring illness or injury or emergency. But just being in a place where there's that amount of hate, and you know, countering people who have just come to a town to spread lies and hate and bigotry, and reducing the problems of the nation down to let's blame the immigrants. It's their fault. It's definitely not the fault of the politicians and the millionaires and the fucking everything else. So yeah, it was. I mean, we were there. We played music. We shouted. We sang. There was a couple of spicy moments. One of my friends, like, what they do is they try and they video the counter protesters in the aim of tracking them down on social media and doxing. That's the term. Don't know if you know the term. It's just kind of, we track you down, then just in order to harass you and harass your friends and harass your family and try and find out where you live and just do all sorts of nasty stuff. So they were doing all that. There was one guy that had brought his kids, and these kids were probably 7, 8. He'd wrapped them up in flags, and he had them. He had them effectively doing Nazi salutes. They weren't. They had the peace fingers, but other than that, it was the exact thing, and you know that that's exactly why he was having them do it. The outstretched arm, up at 45 degrees. Oh, but no, they're peace fingers, so definitely not being Nazis here. I couldn't believe it. Like, weaponizing your kids, and he was really nasty as well. He was hurling abuse with his kids right next to him. He was shouting about how he didn't want them to be raped by immigrants. Kids of that age shouldn't even know the word rape. Okay, it's just horrendous, just absolutely horrendous. So it's left me feeling a little bit sad. So I think we're going to limit on my ambitions. It's weird, like mental health is such a. I mean, it's a weird thing anyway, but this whole thing of having to go and counter the nastiest kind of hatred and lies and manipulation and it's you see this sort of thing online and in the news, and it can, depending on where you live obviously and what community you were in yourself, it can be quite an abstract thing. I mean, obviously I am a white middle class male, which means that I am their fucking prime target. That's there was no diversity of skin colour on their side, because of course there wasn't. But everything that they do is entirely 100% counter to everything I believe, and I will never ever stop fighting that. I was there for my children, for my children's future. I was there so that at the very, very least, in years to come, I can look them in the eyes and I can say, I did what I could. I called these things out. I challenged them. I countered them. I said no. I said, good people do not agree with you. We do not want you. You are not welcome. You are completely wrong with... I mean, just the maths is wrong. It's just stupid. A small percentage of any group of people ever, no matter how you define it, are going to be bad apples. That's human nature. You can't blame whole communities. I actually did manage to reason with one person, and he did then subsequently leave, so I don't know whether I changed his mind, at least enough that he didn't want to be there anymore. And it was the whole thing. He was like he came over and he was like, "Why are you shouting?" And I was like, "I'm shouting because this is a fascist protest." He's like, "Why is it fascist?" And I laid out the reason. He's like, "Yeah, but this country's getting ruined. This is an absolute state. The government needs to sort things out." And I'm like, "Yeah, I don't disagree with any of that, but that's not what these guys are protesting here. These guys are trying to say immigrants are at fault, to blame for all the issues." I was like, if this was a demonstration against the government, depending on your talking points, I might even be on your side. But this is not what is happening. This is fascists trying to blame all the problems of society on immigrants. And also, the LGBTQ community was mentioned. There was a lot of climate change denial, that sort of thing, of course. They've got a playbook that they go through. So lots and lots of hateful things. And this guy was like, yeah, but we can't just, we're an island. We can't just open our borders and let everybody in. And I was like, I don't think anybody's advocating for that. Ask anybody on our side. They're not just saying open the borders, free for all, anarchic state. What we're saying is don't fucking demonise the poorest and most vulnerable of the world. And don't, place your frustrations and your blames where they belong. We can't stop boats arriving, as they say, stop the boats. We can't stop the boats. I mean, we'll never fully stop migration. Migration is and always has been a fact of life throughout all of human history. People move around. People want to move around for all sorts of reasons. Migration will always happen. But people fleeing, persecution and whatever they are. Yes, there are economic migrants who don't live in a particularly bad situation but still want to try and find a better life. But that's a smaller percentage of the people who are fleeing desperate times and persecution. And unless we deal with the reasons why they are leaving where they come from and be part of the global community and, you know, have international aid budgets and you know, have a global thought, try and help, you know, peacekeeping troops and, dialogue and negotiations and aid and all of these things, that fixes the cause. And if you can fix the cause, then the rest of the problem goes away. But by putting up walls around the UK and saying we don't want to know what's going on in the rest of the world, we will only make the problem worse. What we need to be doing is applying diplomatic and economic and pressure to regimes that are causing problems. We need to, don't get me wrong, I'm not saying we need to invade anybody, because how often has that worked? That worked really well in Iraq, didn't it? What we can only help fix the causes of the problem by engaging with the global community. And you can't stop the boats, as people say, by just sinking them all or turning them all around or, blockading the nation. It's gross oversimplification of both the issues and what the supposed solutions are. Yeah, I just don't get it. So I'm feeling a little bit knackered, funnily enough. But I'm going to have a gentle evening and a gentle tomorrow. And